Okay, I'm going to show you something so incredible that most likely you're not going to believe me, because I'm going to show you what is lurking in the dirt here. We're out here planting some flowers, Dr. Mari and I, for just the future here for a nice corner. It's the entrance of the place here. And we had to go back and get the video here because I wanted to share with you some ideas here that are going to really rock your world. Now, these guys are earthworms. And earthworms, like you think, they're just, in the earth. But these also are another species, of course, that transforms into you called the Ascaris lumbricoides. And you can see these guys are like what you'd put on a hook to be able to catch a fish. What do they eat? We know what worms do. If they're in your soil, you've got very healthy soil. Okay? So what are they eating? They're decomposter. They compost things. Okay? You talk about composting in your kitchen and so forth. These guys are organic composters. So they eat all dead material, and basically what they do is they make it new. So let's say if you swallow some of the eggs, which you do when you're just a little child, and as long as they've got their food source inside your stomach, remember, this worm is the same worm as what's called the Ascaris lumbricoides, or what's called the roundworm. And most people, if you've got a belly sticking out this far, and even if you don't, you may have 2 big handfuls of these critters inside you. And what do they eat? They're decomposers. Okay? They eat dead food. Okay, processed food. They eat all the stuff. They're actually doing you a favor. What are they doing? They're eating or digesting the foods that you can't digest. So don't think that these things are doing you any harm. The only harm that they do is they do poop inside you, okay? And this is a big problem. It's called neurotoxicity. And after you eat food, or after these guys eat, they also poop, okay? And when they poop inside you and you've got handfuls of these things, you can see why sometimes you feel real tired. You feel like going and taking a nap. Well, it's because maybe everybody's fed and they've all done number 2 and number 1 too. So this idea here, remember, processed food, that's one of the best reasons why you'd want to, these guys are very active, you can see. And there's hundreds of them in the soil here. We're just looking through here and I said, hey, let me go get my camera. These are the exact same worms that are inside us. These are decomposers, and if you have a diet that supports these little guys to go ahead and make colony after colony after colony, and they get bigger and you get bigger and bigger and hungrier, because they'll tell you, remember, these are very, very genius, I call them aliens. They're inside, intraterrestrial, not extra, but intraterrestrial aliens. And a lot of the parasites, and these are parasites, are sort of bad for you. These guys, though, if you're eating a heathen diet, if you're eating a lot of foods that need to go ahead and actually have a lot of composting done, then you have handfuls of these guys. And what are you going to do if you do have them? Are we going to try to kill them? That wouldn't be smart. If this thing, and this thing is flesh, okay? You see guys, Survivor Man and all these guys on TV eating these things. These things are, whoa! These things are like 80% protein, okay? Now you can cut this thing in half and it will grow back another half. Pretty incredible animal. This thing here can survive big time inside your intestinal tract as long as you feed it the foods that, of course, it thrives off of. And what kind of foods are those? Like I said, dead foods. They don't eat live food. They don't eat the grass. They don't eat the flowers. They don't eat anything. If not, you'd be killing earthworms out of your garden. They decompose the materials that need to be broken down so the soil can go ahead and actually have more macro and micronutrients. So the plants then, so they're aiders of the plants. So the plants can go ahead and have more fuel, more minerals. So when they're in your body, okay, they're processing certain foods that your body just can't break down. Do you think your body can break down what's called fake food? Really? Or fast food? And if you take the S out of the fast food, what do you get? That's right. You know exactly what you get. In about 10 years of eating that, you get fat food. Okay, so these creatures here are very easy to terrain modify, as they've terrain modified us, not just you. I kicked out hundreds of these things out of me when I used to be a meat eater. Okay, even if you're thin and if you're overweight, oh, most likely you got a lot of these things. Okay, and you can actually, we'll link a few other, other videos that will go ahead and show these guys. It's one of their cousin species. There's lots of different soils that have creatures in them that we go ahead and get. You don't have to eat meat sometimes to get these. You just got to make sure that you have the food supply that actually will give them life. Processed foods, that's the difference, and the reason being why you go on a raw food diet, because if you go on a raw food diet, they have no food. They slowly go ahead and die in you, and of course these guys eat themselves. They're decomposers. They eat death. They'll even eat themselves because they're just doing their job. So to terrain modify these guys is the only smart thing, and of course there's, before, you know, I could talk about an hour on this whole video right now and talk about parasites, but this is what I call the roundworm, and the roundworm eats dead material and dead food. And this is the reason being why people come up to the retreat here and they spend 21 days, is because you're going to dry out your system. No one's getting any food. And of course everybody's here to support you, so, well, you don't feel like you need food. So these guys here that live in your gut, they will tell you when you're hungry. You'll feel them gurgling in your stomach, racing around. I got stomach gurgles, I'm hungry. Okay, listen to my stomach. Really, okay? Once you lose these guys, you don't get hungry anymore. You're empty, but you don't get hungry. So just wanted to show you, the roundworms in the body can grow up to about, 10 inches. Just Google Ascaris lumbricoides and you'll see what I mean, and put in surgeries. And you'll see little kids from 3 years old to, they're not really done these surgeries in the United States, but you'll see that these are in Mexico, Brazil, a lot of Asian countries. And people basically get so plugged up, the Ascaris lumbricoides makes it so you can't go to the bathroom. So anyways, this is, like I said, one of the reasons why you would come up to the retreat here, is to be able to dry out all the organisms that are living in your current life, because you're going to change it. It does take 21 days to be able to modify what you would call a new life. It takes 7 days to add another bad habit possibly to your old lifestyle. But it does take about 21 days to dry yourself out. So real quick, we'll just tell you how the course works. And it's, of course, you can see these guys. The one guy's changing shape, so they're very small, but they can also go ahead and blow up and become very large. So these things are called shapeshifters. So the idea is that if you've got these genius creatures that live inside you, the only safe and smart way is to be able to go ahead and do a protocol that makes sense. 7 days steam distilled or RO water, 7 days coconuts, refeeding yourself. Remember, they're not getting any food out of this stuff. Okay, and they're shrinking down, they're losing their power. You start to rid yourself the accumulated baggage that's in your mouth to your anus. Okay, it's a tube that actually flows outside your body. It's inside your body, but it's really just a tube, so it's outside your body. And this is where they live. These guys live in the small intestine, and this is where all feeding takes place. So you can get colonoscopies, because I'm just, trying to make this video short, but there's so much to say. You just went and got a colonoscopy. Your doctor says everything looks good. Just looked into the colon. Just looked into a small portion of 40 feet of tube. Looked in maybe 3 feet if you're lucky. Okay? These critters live in the small intestine. Most of them live right at the cardiac sphincter, which is right after the stomach. And they live exactly where the food comes in best. So anyways, that's the reason why most people don't see them. And if they're in your feces, if they do go ahead and come out for some odd reason, doing certain cleanses or whatever, which I don't really advise too much, okay? Because if you kill too many of these at one time, you will get very sick. The sickness that you'll get is called Herxheimer's syndrome, and it's neurotoxicity. It's because too many of these things that are flesh die inside you, and you can see they're little snakes, and they are flesh, and they rot, and they cause you to get very sick, and you lose your acid-base balance in your blood, and many people have died because of doing very effective parasite cleanses, so don't get too smart on that. The reason why a lot of these different creatures live, remember, is because I want to make sure this whole video makes sense, is because your terrain, your vibration, okay, lets these creatures inside you. If you eat low vibrational food, then you just open the door up to these creatures. That's it, okay? If you only eat higher vibrational food, the tools that you're putting in your body, because they're tools, remember, they're materials that your body, raw materials, are going to use to be able to rebuild this machine, to be able to keep it healthy, wealthy, happy, wise, and, of course, evolutionary. If you've got these different types of parasites, of course, it's only because you're eating pretty much what's called convenient foods. So stay away from eating convenient foods. Stay away from eating a lot of, I wouldn't eat any flesh at all, because these guys and the pig tapeworm, the roundworms that they have are numerous because they eat anything. But the different types of very, very high level alert parasites called the pig tapeworm, the Tinea saginata, that's a good one for you to look up. So you can go ahead and get an idea. The last thing you want to do is have that machine inside you, which a lot of people do if you're eating pork. Okay, so this is the round off of everything here. The last 7 days, what you're going to do is you're going to do heirloom foods. And the heirloom foods, basically, these guys don't eat. It's more raw. It's about 90% raw, 10% maybe cooked. You're trying to stay away from cooked foods, so all the parasites, the fungi, the mycobacteria, the yeast, okay, the mold, everything that basically lives inside you is now very, very dormant and weak. You can re-terrain modify anything that lives inside your system, okay, but you have to do it very slowly. So learn, watch a lot of the videos that we have. You can do a lot of this on your own, or you can actually come up to our Hawaiian retreat that we have up here, that we also do very high-level advanced detox methods, which are very, very smart. Remember, the parasites that live inside you only live inside you because you have a certain vibration. Roundworms come because you're a heathen and you're eating a bunch of food you shouldn't. But tapeworms, fungi, mycobacteria, nematodes, these creatures live inside you because you've been infected. Lyme's disease, okay, all these different candida. Take your clothes off and show me you don't have it, okay? So body fat is a creature. It lives in an acid solution, and it also basically has to have a lot of carbohydrates or dried, what I call cooked carbohydrates. These are the guys that actually process that food. So I hope this little experiment here, just to show you up close what these beautiful creatures look that are most likely, we won't say all of you have it, but I'd say 99.9%. If you're eating conventional foods, then you got them. Okay? Don't kid yourself. And what are you going to do now if you do have them? They're your children, remember? Slow yourself down. Increase your water intake, your liquid intake, in fact. Try to go ahead and cut down on the carbohydrates, the cooked potatoes, all the different potato chips and different things that these guys are the processors. Remember, sugar is needed. Yeast, mold, and fungus to process sugar. Okay? Alcohol needs a certain type of microbe, as heroin does, as cannabis, as tobacco. They all have specific microbes that actually process the fuel or the food that you're putting in your system. So, I know you're probably confused a little bit, but if you smoke tobacco for about a week, you'll find out that tobacco is very strong, and you'd say, how is that stuff so legal? But after a while, it's not that your system gets used to it. Now you have certain microbes in your system now that can process it. Same with cannabis, same with alcohol, and so forth. So once you get these colonies of different types of creatures inside you, then realistically, remember, the game is how do you get them out of you nicely and no killing allowed. All right, that's it. Enough.